Hello everybody and welcome back to a new video. Recently we have been getting a lot of requests to do some more piano tutorials. So in this video I'm going to show you guys the secret to make some unique piano beats from scratch in FL Studio. Alright, so now we are here in FL Studio 21 as you guys can see. And I have actually loaded up a sample from my Revenge sample pack. It's a completely free to download sample pack, so if you guys want to check it out, you can obviously just check it out using the link down below. But I chose to break down this sample number 1 over here in the pack. It's called Revenge, and the reason why I actually chose to break down this sample from the others it's because it has a very unique type of sound when it comes to the piano, and I've also done some very cool stuff when it comes to the sound selection on this sample. But firstly, let's just take a listen to how the sample sounds. So as you guys could hear, it's a pretty unique sounding piano sample, but it still has some sort of dark and eerie vibe to it. You would usually hear a sample like this made from somebody like cubeatz, and I have done some cubeatz tutorials in the past, but they're usually more guitar tutorials, while they are still very well known for their bells and their piano melodies. So the first instrument we have for this sample is this piano sound over here. I'm just firstly going to play the pattern without any effects, and then I'll show you guys how you can recreate the pattern as well. The sound I use from the piano is actually this ghostly preset from Hybrid Keys in Contact, and I actually did some adjustments for this sound to make it sound even better. So make sure the sequencer over here is turned off. Then I also went inside of the effects and I actually turned off a lot of the effects, as you guys can see. So the only thing I kept was this delay on the left right here. Then I turned off the lo-fi, I turned up the reverb, and I turned off the phases, but I did keep on this old verb at the end. As for the pattern, it's very simple to make. The scale we're working in is C minor, so you're just going to start off by putting a note on the root note right here. Then we're just going to copy this over, but you want to pitch it up by 5 semitones. Make this one a little bit shorter and pitch it up by 2 semitones from this F we have over here. And literally everything we're going to do now is just make a normal C minor chord over here, but this time we just want to pitch it up by 1 octave. Then we obviously want to humanize this a little bit so it doesn't sound too robotic. So I'm just going to highlight this D sharp over here, hold Alt on my keyboard and move it slightly to the side, just so it doesn't hit at the exact same time as this note down here. Then we can also drag this one out a little bit. And now we just want to play a little bit around with the notes inside of the scale until we have a nice sounding and catchy pattern. Do the same thing for these two over here. So we can just make a minor chord over here again, pitch these two up by 1 octave. But as you can see, they're pretty high pitched over here. So I'm actually just going to pitch these down a little bit and play around with the different notes. That's super simple pattern right there, as you guys can see. The last things we want to do is just highlight everything and press Alt and R on your keyboard. Then we want to make sure to randomize a little bit of the panning and the velocity as well. Now for the effects, I actually started off with a sound shifter. I just pitched up the whole piano by 1 octave up. And the reason why I did this was actually because I used a halftime right after. And when you guys use a halftime, you've probably heard that the sound sounds super low down. It's almost like it pitches it down by 1 octave. So the sound shifter is just there to pitch up the piano before we add the halftime. Then for the halftime, I made sure to put the mix at about 85%. The effects is all the way to the left and the bar is at half a loop over here. This is going to give the piano a little bit of that pulsing type of sound. Then I just have this reverb using a roam over here at about 22%. Then we just have this RC20 using the Vinyl 3 preset. The only change up I did over here was just that I turned off the noise and I didn't want to have that vinyl in the background. Lastly, we have this EQ just to cut out some of the frequencies and just this imager to widen out the piano sound. Now let's quickly just take a listen to the piano without any effects and then while we put the effects on. This is with the effects on, you can hear a serious difference. So even though the piano sounds a little bit complex, it's really just the sound selection and the effects that enhance the whole sample. The pattern, as you guys saw, it's super easy to recreate. Now the next sound I used was this Scarby Rickenbacker bass in Contact. It was just a simple pattern following the root notes just to give the sample a little bit more low end. So the only cool trick I did with the bass was I just added this transition note before we switched the root note. But as you guys can see, I lowered the velocity almost all the way down, just so it gives that little bit of touch to the bass. After the bass and the piano, I added this vocal from Arcade. It's using Distant Voices and the Letting Go preset. For the vocal, I really wanted it to have an ambient type of sound. So this time I put the reverb at about 35%. I did a high cut EQ as well, since I didn't want the sound to be super harsh in the higher frequencies. And again, to widen out the sound, I added this ozone imager. Now the sample is starting to come together, but I still wanted to add a little bit of touch in the background to really enhance the movement of the whole sample. So to do that, I just added this arcade yet again. This time I'm using this Festivo preset, and it's kind of this guitar tremolo in the background. I feel like it sounds like a touch in the background, but it seriously gave some more movement to the whole sample. As for the effects on that one, I actually just copied these same exact effects from the vocal over to that guitar. Then lastly, you guys know I have to add a texture to the whole sample. So I did add this monster texture from my Imperial one-shot kit. Now with all those elements down, we have the finished sample. The only thing I did to the finished sample was just rendering it out completely over here. And then I just pitched it down by 3 semitones. But now that I've showed you guys the full sample, I really feel like adding some drums over it. So I'm just going to load up a new project in FL Studio. But as for the drum sounds I'm using, they are all coming from my Euphoria bundle kit. So if you guys like the drum sounds you hear, you can obviously go check it out. It's on my website, BBMarko.com, or you can just click the first link down below. And so we're just starting off with a standard clap pattern, just to get the bounce going. I want to add some sort of unique open hat though at the start. Yeah, that's kind of hard to be honest. Make sure you play around with the velocity on the hi-hats. A little bit of a chop right there as well. Now let's add some perks as well. Yeah, that's kind of smooth. So to be honest, for the drums on these type of beats, I usually just put them on the channel rack and it sounds pretty bouncy. But we need to add a 808 to this though. I think this beat is pretty hard. Now I'm quickly just going to arrange the whole beat, and then we'll listen through the final arrangement at the end. So this right here is the final beat. I did some super cool stuff for the arrangement, so I seriously want to take you guys through the whole thing. So in the intro, we have most elements on.
Shut up, Marko.
We have a cool chop right before the hook. Then we bring the guitar in for the first part. We have the second part with the vocal. Over here we slow it down a little bit, remove the 808. Yeah. Here we have everything playing twice. Then again, we kind of slow it down a little bit.